G'day there and welcome back to the $100,000 to $1 million challenge. In this video, I'll be taking a look back at the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs and why this makes me very bullish moving forward into 2024 and 2025. Please note that the information contained in this video is not financial advice and is purely for entertainment purposes. In today's video, I'll begin with the market outlook looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm going to talk about the airdrop farming that I've been doing over the last 2 weeks, including what I've been doing with Celestia. I'll take a closer look at Paid Network with a new version 2 rollout, COPI and MANTA Pacific. I'll talk about all the buys and sells that I've done in the last 2 weeks, and I'll finish up by looking at my portfolio today. If you find value in the video, please help the channel out, either by liking the video or subscribing to the channel. All trades that I take are logged in the Discord channel, and you'll find my full portfolio in there too. So to begin with, for the market outlook, let's look at Bitcoin. Now in the previous video, we were on the verge of the Bitcoin spot ETF approvals that happened to get approved. That wasn't my central case, but I did say if we get approved, that's kind of the best case scenario. And once we list, we should get a flush. Now, I did hear that they said that the listing should be actually really quick after the approval. I didn't believe it. I kind of thought that they'll get approved. There's going to be at least a week, if not 2 weeks, until they actually list, but they listed pretty much immediately after. And so what we've got here is we've got a spike right on the day, and because they listed straight away, we've got this sell-off. Now there's a lot of GBTC redemptions coming from Grayscale at the moment, so that is weighing down the market. I think they can only sell so much before people kind of just get exhausted of selling. And we have, of course, in approximately the 22nd of April, the Bitcoin halving. That's going to be the date. What I'm looking for is, I think this range is likely to hold. There's a lot of support here. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world for me. I'm not looking to sell anything because I do think we are going to rally into the halving. I think the start of April, we're going to get a high for 2024. We'll probably dip into the halving, and then after that, in my opinion, that's going to be when we just move up and to the right. Now, this is my central case. Anything can happen, but that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm really looking at, because we've had this approval, there's just going to be a lot of marketing for this Bitcoin spot ETFs. It's going to get just more people into crypto. Retail will eventually on board. It's looking very promising in my opinion. Now, in terms of ETH, of course, my Twitter timeline for the last however many months has been very negative towards ETH. For me, I've held ETH the whole way through. These red lines, this one here, I drew July 2022, and this one here I drew, I think, at the beginning of the challenge in January 2023. Now, obviously, the price hasn't followed exactly as I've predicted it would go, but it's been reasonable in terms of there's been a high, which kind of correlates to my high. There's been a high, which correlates to my high. Obviously, price was way lower than I thought it would go to. But at least the highs and the lows, I'm a few weeks early, but there's a correlation there. And so this is why I've had confidence to hold ETH, because when I drew these lines, this was my central case, was that at some point here, we're going to bottom ETH, and then we're just going to take off. So it's a little bit earlier. We bottomed a bit earlier than I thought, a bit lower than I thought, but now we're taking off. So whether this ETH ETF narrative came about or not, this was my central case. And I have no inkling to do anything with my ETH other than try and farm more ETH, other than use it for eigenlayer staking, other than try to just generate more yield with my ETH. Now, in terms of recent airdrop farming, there was this Satoshi EVM. I went ahead, I did all the steps that's required for the potential airdrop, but looking at it, it's something that can be serial attacked. I don't think it's going to be a great airdrop. I've done it. I'm not particularly excited about it, but I did do it. I did go ahead and buy 500 Atom at $10 a piece. I've gone and staked those for potential airdrops, so I'm happy about that. In terms of Celestia, I went and bought, I think, 290 Celestia tokens. For Celestia, the chart has just been up and to the right. There's been very limited pullbacks. I did patiently wait. It went through $20. I got in at $17.25. 10 of them I've put into Milky Way here. I've heard that there's a potential airdrop here, so it's worth staking in that. And the rest, my 279 tier, I've just staked here with Stakecito. We've seen a lot of airdrops for tier stakers, and I'm hoping that that continues. Now, in terms of paid network, they did have their AMA where they talked about version 2. My trades in terms of paid is I had some limit orders here which got filled at about around about 20.5 cents. I picked up about 62,000 tokens, and then what happened is they announced on Twitter that anyone who's been staking long term with paid, they were just going to kick all the stakers off. They'd get their tokens airdropped, and I kind of thought, well, if people have been locked for 5 years and now all of a sudden they've got their tokens, they're probably going to sell it. On the chart, we lost the range, so I said if I can get out 18.3, I'm just going to get out. So I went ahead and got out. Price actually dipped all the way down, I think, to about 10.6 cents, something like that. And however, then they had the AMA. Now, I have 150,000 tokens. I'm not letting those go. And obviously, paid's done really well for me. In terms of the AMA, just a question here. Someone said, does every 75,000 paid tokens that you have give you an additional allocation? Now, in terms of on the actual stream, Kyle said no. But a few days later on Medium, it was clarified that yes, every 70,000 paid tokens that you have does give you an additional allocation. Now, after this AMA, price went to about 35 cents. They released their tokenomics during the AMA. I was thinking that the tokenomics were going to be good, but to be honest, they were really good. Pretty much the best tokenomics that I've seen, I think, that I can ever think of. I was really surprised. It's better than I could even come up with if I had all the time in the world. It was really impressive. Price went to 35 cents. I resisted buying. I do have some orders working to try to pick up some more. But it's looking pretty impressive, and I'm glad that at least I held my 150,000 tokens, and I'm looking to accumulate more. Now, in terms of Certify, back in October, I picked up 5,000 tokens at 63.15 cents. I've been trying to pick up another 5,000 because 10,000 is what you need for the private allocations. Tier 6 on Certify. $3.61. I did go ahead and pick up another 5,000. Now, at the moment, price is below $3, so it is down almost 20%, which is a bit unfortunate. But I just kind of said, look, I'm just going to buy them. I'm going to hold them. I have bought and now I have staked my 10,000 tokens for 270 days, so there's nothing I can do about it. In terms of looking at the chart, this is a weekly chart, so I would have bought here, $3.60. Chart doesn't look great. Now, for this kind of chart where the lows have been broken here, I'm not very good. It's just not a strength of mine to be able to understand this chart particularly well. Normally, if I have projects that break their lows here, I kind of just write them off. Obviously, it had a massive move here, and now we've got a retrace happening. It's not something I can read particularly well, but I'm staked for 270 days. So at this point in time, I'm a medium to long-term holder. There's nothing else to do with it. Looking at MANTA Pacific, I bridged 10 ETH over on January 5th, which I talked about in the previous video, and I've stuck it onto Quickswap in the Stone ETH pool at 0.3%. So if I do the calculations now, my 10 ETH is turned into 10.34 ETH. If I was to extrapolate that for the whole year, that would be 77.5% APR of ETH on ETH. So instead of saying with 10 ETH, I'd end up with about 10.775 ETH. I don't think this will continue. I mean, this rate is very high for now. It's going to decrease over time. I have no doubt about that. And particularly what happened, I think, is when MANTA had their TGE and they released all their airdrop tokens, the chain went down. Now, they said that's a DDoS attack. It's probably true. I can see that when it came back up again, a lot of people just wanted to get out. A lot of people were disappointed with the airdrop. So a lot of people are trading for Stone. Trading out of their Stone into ETH. That certainly helped with my unclaimed fees here. Well, what I found really weird though was when the network went down, I went to QuickSwap, looked at this window to see what my current LP, how it was performing, and actually it came up and said, you have no money staked on QuickSwap. And I actually thought, holy mackerel. I went to the QuickSwap Discord, and there was actually nothing in there. No one had said anything about this. I checked 10 hours later, no one had said anything about this. So it's just super weird to me. Thankfully, it's all come back now, and I'm pretty happy with it. In fact, I'm really happy with it. I know there's a lot of different ways you can use your ETH at the moment, but I'm really happy that I found this, and I'm going to stick with it for the time being, that's for sure. Now, I did actually go ahead and buy some MANTA at $2.22. I bought $4,000 worth, because once it launched, you had a bit of FUD, obviously, with the chain just being stuck. There's a billion tokens, so the FTV when I got it was 2.22 billion, and I kind of thought, that's just a bit cheap. I'm just going to buy it. I'm just going to hold it. I'm pretty confident the price will increase. It's not incredible, but for a L2 with a Celestia narrative, I think $2.22 is a pretty good price. So I went ahead and bought $4,000 worth of that. Buys and sells since the last video. I've talked about Atom. In terms of cornucopias, I went ahead and bought 10 tier 1 nodes. And I'm not a node person. I'm not an NFT person. But in the Nexus Gaming raises, they said, hey, you can buy these for $270 each. So I went ahead and bought 10. I did do the Cornucopias IDO a few years ago back on Paid Network. I think it's a good enough project. So we'll see how that goes. I did buy some Phantom at 42.5 cents. Obviously, it's down a bit now, but it's something I'm looking to just hold long term and not think about too much. Same with IMX. I sold a bit early before. I sold earlier than I wanted to, and I've got back in at $2.10. It's down a bit now, but I'm just going to hold that one. I have conviction in that project, so that shouldn't be a problem. I've talked about MANTA. I've talked about Paid. In terms of Sovereign, which we're talking about, a Bitcoin DeFi project, I picked up some more at 60 cents. Originally, I put in $2,000 at 30 cents. I've now picked up another $1,000 at 60 cents. Really happy with my buy. Really bullish on the project. Celestia I've talked about, and Paid. Selling that Paid, which I bought, I've talked about as well. Now looking at the portfolio today, 222 and 11. Pretty happy with that. It's going to be volatile. If we take a big move down, I'm still comfortable. I'm not looking to make any particular moves. Pretty happy with everything that I have. Talked about Paid, Bitcoin, Ethereum. It's always going to be my top 3 pretty much. Cetify, I've bumped up a lot obviously, so I can get that private allocation. Say and Shadow, really happy with those because I've taken out my initials for those. Don't think about them too much. They're doing really well. DuckDale's a disaster. Not much to do with Beam. I talked about Sovereign, Celestia, Atom. I talked about MANTA. Libra, okay, a disaster. Crown, not sure what's going on there. Asta, super bullish. And on to the last page, talked about Immutable, talked about Phantom. And just want to talk about at the bottom here, Tether. It says that I am negative 9,000. So I am leveraged long at this point in time. So I am borrowing against my Bitcoin. I've got one Bitcoin, I am borrowing against it, and so far I've borrowed about $9,000 against it. So that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm aiming to be back in another fortnight's time, so until then, let's always be looking for an edge. Take care until next time, and thanks for watching the $100,000 to $1 million challenge.